Have you ever noticed that some of the most entrepreneurial people are not the ones who started out wanting to become entrepreneurs? A lot of them were created by the workplace, created by frustration, created by limitation, and created by leadership environments that slowly taught them something important. If I'm already carrying this much responsibility without freedom, why am I not building something for myself? And that is what I want to talk about today. Because I think we are watching a major shift happen in professional culture right now. A lot of high performers are no longer asking, how do I climb the ladder? They are asking, how do I build leverage? And truthfully, many leaders don't even realize they are contributing to this shift. Micromanagement is not just frustrating employees anymore. It's creating entrepreneurs. And if you are a high achiever watching this video, there's a strong chance you have already experienced this mindset shift yourself. Maybe nobody around you understands it yet. Maybe you have not fully verbalized it yet. But internally, something has changed. You no longer just want stability. You want ownership. You no longer just want a paycheck. You want control. And those are two very different mindsets. One of the biggest frustrations high performers experience is this contradiction. Organizations say they want initiative, but many leaders become uncomfortable when they actually encounter it. They say they want innovation, but then they over-control the people capable of producing it. They say they want leaders, but they manage talented employees like they can't be trusted. And over time, high performers start noticing patterns. They notice every decision requires approval. Every idea gets overanalyzed. Every success creates more work instead of more freedom. Every demonstration of competence increases scrutiny. And eventually, exhaustion turns into awareness. This is the part that leaders often miss. High achievers are not usually emotionally reactive in the beginning. They try to adapt first. They communicate better, work harder, over-prepare. They become even more disciplined. But eventually, they realize the issue is not performance. The issue is control. And once somebody realizes that, their thinking begins to change. Now, there's a moment that many ambitious professionals experience internally. It's usually quiet, not dramatic, but mentally, everything changes. It's the moment they stop asking, how do I succeed here? And start asking, how do I create options? That's the beginning of entrepreneurial thinking. And notice something important. Entrepreneurship often begins psychologically, long before it begins financially. Before somebody launches a business, before they start consulting, before they create a course, before they invest, even before they monetize their expertise, there is a first mental separation from dependency. They start realizing, my livelihood cannot depend entirely on one manager's opinion of me. That realization changes how people move. Because once someone begins thinking in terms of ownership, they start evaluating everything differently. They stop seeing themselves as just workers. They start seeing themselves as assets. This is the irony. Many leaders think micromanagement increases control. Long term, it often destroys loyalty. Because high performers eventually realize something that's very uncomfortable. The organization wants their output without empowering the person producing it. And that creates resentment, especially when the employee is highly capable. Because high achievers know what they are capable of building. Now that awareness becomes dangerous in restrictive environments. The more competent someone becomes, the harder it is to tolerate unnecessary control. And eventually, many professionals start redirecting their energy. Instead of pouring all their creativity into the workplace, they begin investing in themselves. They start building personal brands, learning business strategy, studying sales and marketing, creating digital products, developing side income, networking differently, and learning ownership structures. Not necessarily because they hate their jobs, but because they no longer trust dependency. Now, that's a very important distinction. Now, here's something most people don't talk about enough. Many difficult workplaces accidentally create very strong entrepreneur traits, such as emotional discipline, independent problem solving, and observing broken systems. Emotional discipline. If you survive a micromanaged environment without losing composure constantly, you develop emotional discipline. Entrepreneurship requires that because business comes with uncertainty, criticism, setbacks, and pressure. People who have already learned how to function under tension often become mentally tougher entrepreneurs. Independent problem solving. Micromanaged environments often force high achievers to become extremely resourceful. Why? Because support is inconsistent. So they learn how to research independently, solve problems quickly, adapt under pressure, anticipate issues early. Now, those are entrepreneur survival skills. Now, observing broken systems. A lot of businesses are born because someone became frustrated enough to notice inefficiency clearly. Micromanagement exposes inefficiency constantly. You begin noticing communication bottlenecks, leadership insecurity, wasted time, low morale, and unnecessary bureaucracy. And eventually, high performers start thinking, there has to be a better way to do this. That thought creates innovation. Now, let me say something directly. One of the biggest mistakes high performers make is allowing toxic environments to psychologically reduce them. This is dangerous because survival mode changes people. It makes talented people stop dreaming, stop building, stop creating, stop imagining alternatives. And after enough time, people start normalizing limitation. They stop seeing themselves as capable of ownership. That's exactly why some professionals stay trapped for years in environments that drain them. Not because they lack talent, but because they slowly lost vision. And if you're listening to this right now, I need you to understand something. A restrictive environment should not become your permanent identity. Someone else's inability to lead well should not determine the size of your future. Now, I also want to bring balance to this conversation because I don't believe every frustrated employee should immediately quit their job. That's not wisdom. That's reaction. Entrepreneur thinking is not about impulsive escape. It's about strategic freedom. And there's a difference. Sometimes entrepreneurship starts quietly. It starts with building expertise publicly, creating intellectual property, consulting on the side, writing, speaking, investing, and creating systems, and learning monetization. You don't have to announce every move immediately. In fact, some of the smartest professionals build leverage quietly. And that matters because freedom is strongest when it's intentional and not emotional. One thing I have noticed about entrepreneur people is this. They stop waiting for institutions to validate their potential. That mindset shift is powerful because many brilliant professionals spend years waiting for recognition, promotion, healthier leadership, fair treatment, and organizational change. Meanwhile, entrepreneur thinkers are building anyway. They build quietly, strategically, and consistently. And eventually the gap widens because one person is waiting to be chosen. The other person is building leverage. That's why entrepreneur thinking becomes so attractive to high performers. It restores control and confidence, and both matter deeply to ambitious people. If leaders are paying attention, this trend should concern them because organizations are losing some of their best people psychologically before they lose them physically. The resignation often happens mentally first. Once high performers emotionally detach from dependency, it becomes very difficult to rebuild loyalty through surface level motivation. Pizza parties and ice cream socials will not fix it. Corporate slogans won't fix it. Generic praise won't fix it. Because the issue is so much deeper. People want autonomy. They want trust. They want meaningful influence. People want room to think. And leaders who can provide that environment will continue creating future entrepreneurs, whether they intend to or not. And I think many high performers eventually reach a moment where they realize, I was never asking for special treatment. I was asking for room to operate at a level I know I'm capable of. That realization changes people permanently. Because once someone begins thinking like an owner, it becomes very difficult to go back to thinking like permission is required for growth. And that may be one of the biggest unintended consequences of micromanagement. It doesn't just frustrate talented people. It teaches them to build outside the system. And for many high performers, that shift becomes the beginning of entrepreneurship. If this conversation resonated with you, let me know in the comments. Do you think micromanagement is pushing more professionals toward entrepreneurship and independent income? And if you enjoyed this discussion, please make sure you read the LinkedIn article connected to this video and subscribe for more conversations about leadership, high performance, workplace culture, and professional growth.